Hi, this is my podcast. It is called Camera In, as in like camera in. It's funny. Okay, so let's just hop right into it. My initial thoughts about the novel are that at first I really enjoyed it. I thought that the descriptions of nature were really strong. The plot itself, especially like so early on, I'm talking, or not necessarily, well, pretty much up until the court trial, I was like 10 out of 10. I love this book. It's like one of the best things I've ever read. I thought that the romance was really strong. Very entertaining. Though I mean it was dark quite a bit. So I don't know if entertaining is really the right word, but it's definitely was engrossing, well written, and very impressive in general. Basically, until the Jody chapter was the first time that I was reading, and I was like, "This isn't. I don't like this." I felt like the Jody chapter was, when I'm talking about the chapter when Jody first came back. I thought that the dialogue in there was really weird. Up until that point, I thought the dialogue was a pretty strong point of the story, honestly. And maybe that was just because everyone talked in like these accents, and the fact that the author used the accents, like wrote in the way that it would sound rather than with proper spelling and that kind of stuff. Um, but having Kaya talk like, you know, a normal person, like without like the accent and that kind of stuff, and Jody talk like a normal person too, and all that. And maybe it was like this sudden shift from no accents or something like that that made it like more noticeable, or maybe it really. But honestly, I just thought the dialogue was cringy. Like, just to get to the point, um, it felt melodramatic and very just like, oh, thank you for coming back, Jody. I missed you. Why'd you leave? Like that kind of stuff. Uh, and it's like it felt like where the story up to that point felt very original and very much it very quality. All of a sudden I felt like I was reading some kind of like template for, or just another carbon copy of a melodramatic family story kind of thing, if that makes any sense. And I didn't think, I'm not a fan of the court trial. I was not a fan, and I find it very interesting. I mean, I found it interesting, but not nearly as interesting as the first part of the book. And then the same can be said for the ending in general. I did not like the ending. Like, this kind of like just clean it all up, throw a whole bunch of bombs of resolution on you. It's like the author didn't really know where to go. And of course, I understand. I can get it. Writing the play, I mean, the ending's like the hardest part. I didn't really know how, like, like, I knew where we were going with the play, but I didn't know where like, exactly how to end it. But, and I think I can, that's very visible in Crawdads. Because I mean, of course she foreshadowed stuff, and so it's obvious she knew what she wanted to do, but it almost feels like her end product, the way she ended it, didn't fit the beginning of the story. If that makes any sense. It feels like, this is another thing. I might just be thinking this because of the play and because seeing how like writing the play went. But it really feels like you know how the play went with how basically by the time we finished it, it was 100% different from the outline we made at the start. And reading this story, it feels like she went if honestly, like, as she wrote, the story got like bigger and different from how she originally planned it and how she kind of was writing her foreshadowing in, and then when she brought it around to the ending, it almost feels like she kept the ending as how she originally planned, but how she originally planned didn't fit the story anymore. Now it probably sounds like I'm kind of like totally pulling that out of my butt, and maybe I am like totally reaching and just just kind of relating it to my own experience with writing, but that's the kind of vibe I got from it, just because it felt so. It was like it felt rushed too, just and like the stuff with Kaya being the poet and it being her pen name. I thought that was that just it just didn't fit. I didn't like the ending. It felt like it added a whole bunch of stuff that just didn't really work well. Alright. Let's see. A discussion of key elements from the novel, such as characters and plot. Yeah. Characters are pretty cool. Kaya, of course, the protagonist. This guy. I feel like Kaya was an interesting character at the beginning. I really liked learning about her childhood. Or I guess maybe liked isn't the right word, but it was interesting. Let's see. And it was engrossing. That's the word I was looking for. It was very engrossing. And the same with her romance. So, like, everything with Tate, everything with Chase. I think the Chase chapters were some of my favorite in the book. I just thinking about like the one at the end of the one chapter where she says how when Tate was like playing his harmonica, he felt the most human. Like that's and when she said like how she smiled for the first time she laughed for someone else's sake or something like that, when she was basically saying how she was giving away part of herself to like Chase and that kind of stuff in order to get him to like her. That kind of stuff, that was my favorite part of the story, and that I think it made Kaya such a deep and real character. Like, she felt real, like especially with the line that I was talking about with how she felt like or no how she gave away, or how she's giving away parts of herself and laughing for other people's sake, because that's what I do. So I've always done things. I don't know the last time I laughed genuinely. Well, that's a lie. That makes it sound too dramatic. But like half the time, 3/4 of the time, like laughing is like I don't actually find it funny. It's just so it's not awkward, or it's just courtesy laughs, or it's just like, you know, they said something that was supposed to be funny, so yeah, I'll laugh, even if it wasn't funny or I didn't find it funny. But so like reading that kind of stuff made me feel Kaya was really really real. And then she killed Chase, and then turns out she was the poet, and turns out she was quoting her own stuff, and she wasn't real anymore. That's what I'm talking about with the ending. It feels like it took this extremely well written, strong, real character, and just now this might sound dumb, but it feels like it turned her into a plot device. Because it felt like all of a sudden she was like, or maybe it feels like a lot of the depth was taken out of her for the sake of wrapping up the story. Is the best way I could put it. to elaborate on that, I don't know if I can. Um, she very much it very much felt so Kaya. We were talking about it in class. This will tell you when I'm working on this. This is take three, by the way. I do have about 50 minutes of like raw footage of my podcast I worked on before the due date. Before the due date. Only problem is it's awful. I was gonna edit it and cut it down to be just like a highlight reel of the stuff that actually is like has to do with the story. There's nothing. It was awful. There's like nothing that was actually usable. I was so. It was like 1:30 when I was working on it. Well, I say that like it's not 5 in the morning while I'm doing this. Um, but yeah. What was I saying? I got kind of sidetracked. Kaya was. Yeah, it feels like they took the depth out of Kaya in order to finish the story. Um, it turned out like at the beginning it felt like character driven, and then by the end it felt plot driven. Um, is what I'm trying to say. Or at least, and that's how I feel like about Kaya's story. Um, Kaya became this like became. I mean, of course, she's the protagonist. She stays the driving force throughout, but by the end, it feels like the plot became more important than her characterization, and then it was bad, and then her character got worse. I didn't necessarily mind what happens in the end. I didn't even really mind her being the poet either. What I did mind was more just how it was done and how it was just all bombed on us in one chapter. Like, could have done a little more. I don't think it was foreshadowed that she was Alexandra. Alexandra's the poet's name, right? I feel really dumb. The poet, that she was the poet, because I mean, it had her recite her poems throughout, but it didn't feel like there was anything they're saying or hinting that is actually Kaya. One thing I did think that made me like the her being the poet a little bit more was that perhaps she like when it says she's reciting the poems, maybe that was her coming up with the poems. Actually, that's kind of stretching because it's not what the author wrote. But if I thought about it that way, it made me like it a little more. So like when it says like she would like be looking at stuff in nature, and then she would recite one of her poems, I would think. I think as I was reading, this was kind of how almost I took it, or no, that's a complete and utter lie. Because the way I took it was that she was reciting poems from another author, but looking at it as if it's herself, it almost makes me think that there's a stink bug crawling across my desk. It made me feel like almost like Kaya's reciting of the poems was her coming up with these poems in nature, and that made me like it a little bit more. But that was also just my way of kind of like coping with this awful plot twist. Not plot twist. This awful turn of events that was the ending. Some other characters. I spent a long time on Kaya. I'll try to rush through the rest. Tate. I like Tate a lot. I think that all of a sudden, let's get married, or we don't have to get married, but I love you at the end sucked. I really liked their relationship at the beginning. I really liked their relationship when Tate cut it off. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was strong. I thought that Tate was an understandably bad character. He was, 18 years old. He's a stupid kid. Of course he's going to make bad decisions. Of course he's not going to know how to handle a relationship like that. Especially, like, who would know how to handle a relationship like that with Kaya when, like, no matter who you are, this is a very special case. There's no precedent really for wild marsh girl, and you're gonna go be a biologist. Like, it's hard enough to keep up a relationship. Okay. Look, it's hard enough to keep up a relationship, long distance, in like modern day. Um, modern day, like in not in a marsh, and even if your other, like, what I'm trying to say is in the modern day and your partner is like a normal person, um and it's like, you people struggle with like dealing with that and ending off relationships or keeping them up when they go off to college. So having like, I can understand why Tate would break up with Kaya, why he would not want her to be part of his college life like that. No matter, I mean, like, no matter how much he loves her. No, I mean, of course, he can all, like, I'll say, like, if he really loved her, he would have stuck with her no matter what. But that's kind of unrealistic. Um, cause I'm like, I'm one of the mind of like, put yourself first kind of thing, past love, um, or I would like to be. Um, that's the ideal. That's my ideal. Of course, whatever actually happens, like, emotions suck. Uh, but I think that Tate made an understandable decision. Is what I'm trying to say. And if I were in his shoes, I could say I'd probably make the same mistake. Kind of like getting cold feet before the marriage. I think that it's rough. And I think that Tate definitely redeemed himself. It was deserving of forgiveness. I did not like that he and Kaya ended up in a relationship again, though. I think they should have stayed split up. I think that would have been stronger for Kaya's character and gone more along with her kind of development, rather than having her, like, because, like, I think honestly, I think that, okay, I'm not the author, but I think that, if here, I'm gonna turn this. I realize I'm kind of going out of frame. So, you can see my mattress that has no sheets on it. I sleep with no sheets on my mattress. I have a quilt, not because I like think it's healthy or something like that. It's because I'm sad and lazy, and horribly overwhelmed currently, and don't do that. But what was I saying? I'm sorry. It's 5 in the morning when I'm working on this. But yeah. God, it's been nearly 20 minutes and I'm like, I've gone nowhere. You're probably gonna want to listen to this in 2 times speed. Okay, Tate's done. It doesn't matter. Chase was another interesting character. Honestly, I like Chase. I didn't despise him from the start like most people did. I mean, like, I knew he was fishy. I knew something was up, and I knew he was a piece of crap. But I liked him personally. I thought that he. No, I didn't. I didn't like him. But I didn't hate him. Honestly, from the start, I didn't think that he was. I thought I still think he had feelings for Kaya. I think there is something there. I don't think he was like a sociopath, emotionless player. Well, I think he was a player, but I think that he had feelings for Kaya, but he also had feelings for like Pearl, and he had feelings for all these girls he has all over the place. But his feelings are, but he's so entitled, and he's such a preppy white boy that he thinks that this is fine because I'm Chase Andrews, so I can do this to these people that I care about. And I think it's almost like a problem of, like, I'm sure, like, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing was wrong, but he thought that it was okay because he's Chase Andrews. Now he's a much less understandable character, a much less, like, I'm not going to sit here and defend Chase. I'm not going to defend him for marrying another girl while he was still seeing Kaya and then cheating on said girl. Cheating on the girl he married, cheating on Kaya, cheating on everyone. Did he deserve to die? He deserved a punch in the face and a really good beating. Like, it's kind of like thinking about it. Like, here, let me move my like little pop filter over my microphone. Kind of like the thing. Like, I imagine if Kaya was like my friend, and I figured out that Chase hurt her, I want to punch Chase in the face. I'd beat him up, or at least I'd like to think I'd beat him up. I might not. I don't know. You know what? It feels like 1960s marsh backwater area. I'd probably beat him up. Well, I'm not gonna get arrested. I'm I'm not gonna get look. I'll be fine back then. Nowadays, I feel like if you beat someone up for something like that, you're gonna get in trouble. That's not gonna go well. But if you beat Chase up, I'll whack him over the head with some blackberry jam or whatever. I think I'd be fine. I'd do that. I'd be able to do that. Plot. I think I talked about the plot a lot. This kind of in my like discussion of the initial thoughts and how it changed, everything like that. Themes. That's something I was thinking about. I feel like, and like, I'm usually pretty good with thinking up themes, and having like kind of a symbolic understanding of stories. Because you like as I read, I'm kind of the type that like steps back and thinks about the symbols. Sometimes I think about the symbols more than the characters, and I end up like missing like good plot because I'm thinking about what the author was trying to like say here. I'm trying to find a deeper meaning. Mr. Ford would slap me for that. But I thought that the but one thing I do think about this story, my point of saying this is that I struggle to think up themes for the whole novel. Excuse me. Because I feel like there's a lot, and I feel like at different points in the novel, like, you could almost take different themes. Like for some, I mean, there's a couple overarching ones, stuff like the natural world is both full of love and danger, kind of thing, and I think that that's something that can be found. And I think that this kind of like love and danger and like, or when I say love, I'm talking about I'm like trying to talk about how nature both took care of Kaya as a mother, and also like say when she went out into the ocean and the turbulence and the danger. I think it was kind of a metaphor for life. Thematically, it's like how life is full of, or like maybe a better way to put it would be like your interactions, the people around you. You can find both those who will care about you and those who will help heal you, and those that will throw you into the storm, and rock your boat. How's that for a theme? They rock your boat. But yeah, that's all I got really for overarching themes. I don't know, it's just stuff like don't trust men. That's a joke because you can trust Tate. I think forgivable is a big part in it too. People don't judge a book by its cover. Stupid stuff like that. Is also there. Conflict. Conflict's kind of pretty straightforward. It's just like I mean, why can't I'm sorry. The conflict's pretty straightforward. If you're wondering where I'm like looking over here, this is where like my screen is, and I can see like me over here. So I just kind of end up staring at myself. I'm a narcissist, kind of like Kaya. Um, what was I saying? Conflict. You have a lot of internal conflict with Kaya, trying to forgive, trying to forget, trying to understand what's going on. Why did her mother leave her? Why did Tate leave her? Why did everyone leave her? Why did Chase leave her? This we see a lot of the struggle of loneliness versus her inner, like her deep loneliness and her desire for companionship versus her mistrust of other people. I think that also kind of goes into themes with learning to trust others, and learning that you only need the people that you want. You don't act like this idea that you don't have to actually be a part of society to function or to be happy. Like, you just need to find the people that make you happy. Tate made Kaya happy. Jumpin' made Kaya happy. Mabel made Kaya happy. She doesn't need other people. Ooh, characters. I probably should mention Jumpin'. He was my favorite character in the book, probably. For understandable reasons. Nice father figure. I love father. My favorite dynamic in stories is father-daughter. Vincent, that's why I wrote Vincent as a man originally. I really like father-daughter relationships, especially ones that start unhealthy and then slowly heal. Oh, the chapters with Kaya's dad when he was like getting like on better terms with her, that like that was like some of my favorite stuff, dude. That was so good. Like it's stuff like what can I reference to give you an idea what I'm talking about? Have you just seen any like movies where they have like, you know, the gruff old man, or Logan? Have you ever seen Logan? With where Wolverine is like acting as like a father figure for the little girl. That is good stuff. That's what I'm talking about. I love that kind of dynamic, that relationship. It makes me. And I don't know what it is, because I like my like another thing, I either like father daughter or mother son relationships and stories. But I don't really care that much for like father son and mother daughter relationships. I don't know what it is about that. But like a common thing that I'll see, that I like, my favorite stuff is like the trope of like guys taken in by like the female like karate master or whatever, and they get trained by her and that kind of stuff, and ends up being mother figure, like that, like the female Mr. Miyagi kind of thing. If you ever seen movies or shows with that kind of dynamic, that's my favorite kind of thing. That's my favorite. Even more than father-daughter stuff. That kind of mother-son thing. But I'm like totally going off on a tangent here. Conflict. That's weird. Jesus Christ, how did I get so off from conflict? Yeah, so I talked about Kaya's internal struggles. Another thing I could talk about is Kaya's external struggles with her stuff against Chase, her stuff with Tate, and how that caused more internal struggle for her, because her being betrayed by both of them, and then I don't know, of course the court case. I don't even want to talk about it, honestly. I don't like it. That's how much I don't like it. That's how much I didn't like the court case and everything that had to do with it. So insufferable I found it. Because I like, maybe like this is okay. This is what I'm gonna say. It felt, sometimes it feels like the authors do this thing where they like sacrifice enjoyment to make you feel like the character. And that's also like it felt, and also like I was locked up too, away from nature, right, with Kaya, but not in a good way. Because guess what? The nature descriptions and the nature was the best part of the book, or one of the best parts of the book. And when we're locked up in prison with Kaya, we lost that. We didn't have that anymore. Um, Basically taking away the best part of the book for the name of plot and conflict. You see what I'm getting at? You see, I don't like that. And that's a mistake that I see a lot. That's a mistake I make myself in my writings, because I'll get like so set on a certain plot course that I don't realize the strengths of my story. Um, I think I could probably see a little bit in the play too. God, I swear to God, with the play, it's like I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, there's so much I would do different if it wasn't just a couple weeks before the show. There's so much I want to change. There's so much I want to change. But too late now. Next time I write a play. But yeah, conflict. Thought the resolution was poor. But I talked about that. I feel like I talked about some of the stuff. Because it kind of basically goes along with. There's a stink bug now crawling across a $20 bill on my desk. I'm gonna ignore him for now. I really hope it doesn't like fly up into my mouth or something. Alright. I talked about symbolism too with themes. Setting. The setting was beautiful. The setting was the best part, except for when they changed the setting to a prison. I think that's another thing. That's why the police chapters were a bit lower quality too. Like the jumps back to 1969, that kind of stuff. Because they took place basically in the town. And I didn't mind the town itself, but the town, like, the best parts of the book took place in the marsh, isolated, with Kaya. So why would you take the plot away from the marsh? Is my question. Why would you do that? I'm talking to you. No, I'm not. Well, I guess I am technically, but I'm not asking you. Of course you don't know. You didn't write it. The nature descriptions were beautiful. I talked about this earlier. It just kind of ended up. Style. I think I had really grand descriptions. And I think that originally it was a lot more. Like, it almost felt like the story was a vehicle for her descriptions of plot, similar to how some this is totally not gonna this is gonna be a reference that totally doesn't connect, but similar to how some video games are vehicles for people's music. I'm referencing this game called Touhou, Touhou, where basically the creator created it in order to put his music on something, basically. But the games ended up totally taking off. But the truth is, like, they are totally, like, it's literally just like the game creator created just so that he could as a vehicle for his music. And I feel like the beginning of the story was a vehicle for these nature descriptions, and kind of messages about conservation, that kind of stuff. And then I think the author got a bit too caught up in her own plot, forgot what her goal was, and ruined the story with oh, that was close. I really don't. I'm not trying to edit this one. I'm keeping it PG. Crappy ending, because she got lost in her own plot, lost in the sauce. Yeah. Let's talk about, here's my additional element. An explanation of the way the time period affects the actions of the characters. Racism, racist, prejudice. That's a lot. I think nowadays, basically all our prejudices that we see in the book, if this book took place today, except for Chase, there's still a lot of chases in the 21st century, but I think pretty much all the other prejudices, like the heavy racism. I mean, of course, there's still racism, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, I think, and I think that Kai would be treated much better today, too. I think that we have become a lot more accepting of the weird, basically, for the most part. I could go off about people's people picking and choosing who they accept when it comes to like weird and quirky people, but um, I think that nowadays Kaya would be much more accepted. I think that she would be able to be more socialized. I think she could not get away with running away from her truant officers and that kind of stuff anymore. I think also she would definitely get found out with modern day technology that she killed Chase. Um, I think that there's no two ways about that. Excuse me, but and of course stuff like Jonathan and Mabel, they would be treated much better today. And it like in that area too, even though it is like backwater marsh, um, it was obviously getting developed in the time of the story. I think that if we want to stretch that and take it as if like we just moved the story up 30 years or something like that, the area would be more developed. And the I think that nowadays you see a lot less marsh. I think that it would be, if the story was modern day, it would be harder to have these beautiful descriptions of the marsh. I also think that um, I have no more thoughts. I didn't think anything else. A discussion of how the novel connects to other pieces of literature or historical/current events. How does the novel connect to other pieces of literature? That's a good question. How long have I been? 37 minutes, dude. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Fry. I'm so sorry for how long this podcast is. Um, I discussed on how the novel connects to other pieces of literature or historical/current events. I don't really know. That's a joke. That was just what came to mind. How did the novel connect to other pieces of literature, historical? What are these questions, dude? This is tough. This is probably why you're supposed to think about it beforehand and not just jump right into recording. And say that I'm not gonna cut this out though, because I need to just turn something in, dude. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is so late. Um, well, if you want to connect to historical events, it doesn't really connect to much. It's very much kind of on its own, even though it took place during the '60s, going into this. I mean, what was it? Late '50s, '60s, and the early '70s. Um, they never really talk about anything going on in like America at the time, that anything bigger than the story itself, and I think that's a good thing. I think the story didn't need to connect. But if you want me to connect to historical events, say like the civil rights movement, segregation, so not civil rights movement. I'm sorry, segregation. Before pre-civil rights movement, basically, or I guess this was during the civil rights movement, most of the plot, but stuff like you just I mean like you can see like with the judge and that kind of stuff saying that it's okay for black people to be in like the white area. You can see segregation starting to break down some there, so it's definitely in a time of improving the standing of black people in society. However, definitely, definitely was still of course this was also backwater marsh area, so they're kind of going to be behind. I really hope you didn't just hear me fart. That that would be kind of embarrassing. Um, other pieces of literature. I mean, she quoted a lot of poems. I didn't actually look it up if the poems she quoted were real. I can't really think of any off the top of my head that were from any authors that I knew, poets that I knew. But also, I can't really remember many of the poems that were brought up in the story. Um, would I recommend the book to others? Yeah, I give it a. I definitely recommend it. If I were just looking at if I were just looking up to the Jody chapter, 8, 9, 8.5 or no 9, 9. I give it a 9. With the court chapter, with that horrific ending, I'd give it a 6. It's still a good story, and I say horrific ending, but it's not. It's not that bad. It's not that disgusting. It's just didn't work well with the rest of the story. This wasn't as good. I felt disappointed. Um, an interview with someone who's an expert on the book or relevant to the book in some way. What? What? I've read. I looked over this before, but I totally forgot about the interview part. You want me to interview someone? All right, I'll give you an interview. I was gonna do this funny bit where I was gonna interview myself, but I was gonna like put glasses on. I don't have any glasses. My glasses aren't over here. Uh, it's all. We're at 42 minutes currently. I I'm trying to think of how to rush this interview. Yeah, I think that's all I got. This is Prime. Not gonna lie. Um, when we do an interview, all right. What did you think of the novel, Mister um, Jewandowski? I thought that the author really didn't really know where they were going towards the end. I thought that they needed to do they could have used a lot of work. It almost you know what, and you never know. It could have been like publishing. The publisher was on her back. It could have been, there's like a lot of stuff that could have been going on behind the scenes. You never know, but definitely towards the end, she lost it. She fumbled the bag. It's funny you say that, Mr. Jewandowski, because I agree. There's your interview. I think that's it for my podcast. I hope you enjoy watching this 45-minute video of me rambling at 5:30. It's 5:30 on the dot right now in the morning on Friday, actually, because I decided it would be easier to just record again than edit the old video. I think I talked about that earlier, 45 minutes ago. All right, this is my podcast. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you watch the whole thing, every second of it, and I hope that this. Yeah, I hope that this is the longest one, because I would feel really bad if you have to watch anything longer than 45 minutes. Have a nice morning. I will see you in like a couple hours at school. All right, bye bye.